What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale. Well, I am here with Marla Maples. She is an American actress, television personality, singer, and philanthropist. Born in, how do I pronounce this?
Cohutta.
Cohutta? Is that right?
Cohutta.
Cohutta, Georgia, which is on the border of Tennessee and Georgia.
Yes, it is. Right along
Northern
the line.
Georgia. And after graduating from Northwest Whitfield High School, where she was homecoming queen?
Yeah, and I got to play a lot of basketball then, too. We girls went to state level.
Marla briefly attended the University of Georgia before moving to New York to pursue a career in entertainment. She has appeared in films such as Maximum Overdrive and The Secret of My Success. We both have something in common. We both have been in musicals. Myself off-Broadway. She performed on Broadway in the Will Rogers Follies. Now, we want to be talking to you about that because I have a love of musical theater, performing in musical theater. And in the off-Broadway production of Love, Loss, and What I Wore. Marla is also known for her marriage to Donald Trump in the mid-'90s. They have one daughter, Tiffany, and recently I'm
the grandma.
The grandma.
I'm the grandma.
Was it a girl or a boy?
It's a little boy named Alexander.
Recently.
Very recently. He's just a month old now.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Outside of entertainment, she has been involved in a number of philanthropic efforts, supported organizations such as Global Lyme Alliance, Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Spirituality for Kids. And what was the one you were just mentioning to me off camera?
Well, I'm the co-founder of the Global Wellness Forum and the Marla Maples Foundation. So we've been very, very busy. It's been a nice lifetime of doing as much as I can to balance the receiving and the giving is so important. Global
Wellness Forum, Marla Maples Foundation. So we have a lot to talk about with Bobby Kennedy and Maha and alternative healing practices. We could talk about that the whole time. We've got a lot to get through. Marla, thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to start with this CIA clip. We did a story about a year ago, and this is, I think, the first time you and I kind of connected. I think because I don't think I knew you yet.
Not yet. I think we met last October.
And this was in I think it was May of 2024. This is a guy who works at the CIA who bizarrely took out his press badge and his press badge, his CIA badge, Langley, Virginia, and started talking about you. So let's just play this clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Amjad Fasisi also states as fact that Trump is under constant surveillance and even claims they are spying on his ex-wife. We are assuming Amjad is speaking of Marla Maples.
How did you guys figure out that Trump was colluding with the Russians? Did you guys use?
It's just even intelligence. I can't give you a straight answer. I don't know. But we have many intelligence, and we also have people that monitor that's like he likes to use porno.
Do I say that one more time? He likes to use what?
Burner phones.
What does that mean?
That means a prepaid phone card that's not attached to you. It's not on the network. It doesn't ping the account.
Like a dummy phone? Like a dumb phone? Like a flip phone?
Your reaction to that?
Seems like we all needed those dummy phones, didn't it?
Burner phones.
I think there was no way to run or hide during the last few years. You know, they wanted to. I'm one step away from. I'm in the family because we share Tiffany, right? And I care about this country, so I was willing to do anything I could to secure our country, secure people's health, and people get very curious about what you're doing. So when I watched that for the first time, I must have got my phone just blew up like crazy with people. Are you okay? Are you okay? Oh my God! I'm
wow.
Like, kind of already knew they were doing it.
You already knew?
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Your suspicions?
Definitely.
What were the suspicions based upon?
Just based on moving through life and talking to interesting characters and knowing how the world and those governments were working. I knew that we had to be careful with conversations and just learning to be integral in everything that you do, but also protect how you move. But when you're all about health freedom and you see what was happening with COVID, you're going to get yourself in some hot water pretty fast.
Well, it's hard because you have nothing to be ashamed of. You're not doing anything wrong,
Right.
but there's that dark energy of people spying on you. Does that affect you?
Right.
Does that affect you psychologically?
I think I just know, it's kind of like you, James, like we're on a mission. Like God gives you a directive on how to live your life. And you have to be very careful who you allow in and who you don't. Right. And when things are in your heart and you're passionate about, you have to move forward on those things. And I think some of those things made me a bit of a target to be listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And, didn't scare me. It didn't scare me because we're going to do what we need to do, you know?
You
no
can't
matter
let
what.
fear, you talked about this fear issue. I want to get to the TED Talk you did about faith over fear, because this is central in everything. But first, I shouldn't have trusted these guys, but I did trust these guys.
A lot of people thought there was malfeasance. I would prefer to say ignorant of those events. I didn't want to know.
Nonprofit boards of directors can be very, very dangerous.
Fortunately, I have recordings and documents to back up everything I'm about to tell you.
Employees were starting to bundle up and talk.
If we're about to paint James as a criminal, it better be fucking good.
They sent a pic of me nailed to a cross.
They used these kids. Matt used them to further his agenda.
The reason why James was bad was morphing.
I never lived this lifestyle with black cards.
He's a mean boss.
Stress with his girlfriend is not appropriate.
I don't know that James has a private life.
James took a pregnant woman's sandwich. And these are people that we thought were people with integrity.
Who on the board is in control?
Turns out board members are taking money from donors.
How much did you invest in each of Matt Tierman's companies?
I don't think that's any of your business.
We're at the pinnacle of Mount Everest.
Are you refusing to answer the question?
Yes.
The only thing that has changed is that we broke the biggest story in our organization's history.
If a board statement goes out, it's fucking over.
A week later, everything changed.
And it wasn't right.
It was the timing of it that was so suspicious.
Is it fair to say that 3 of the 4 companies you've invested in, you would consider to be in the medical field?
So what did the board think people were going to assume?
One of the companies could be sold to a big pharma.
Like Pfizer?
Like Pfizer.
Did the board not think that people were going to assume the worst? I want to talk about your investments in
I want to
medical
talk
companies.
about you.
I'm a fighter.
You're a cheat.
I'm a warrior.
You're a liar.
And I will get my justice. Not revenge, but justice.
Is it all about money? Too bad you can't afford that.
Big difference.
How do you define conflict of interest?
I brought these with me, Marla, and I showed you these. This is not your first reaction, but I like reading analog. People like criticizing me. They say, why do you read? I actually read the newspaper every day, by the way.
Know. You get your hands dirty.
I get the hands dirty, but the blue light from the phones, I don't like that. So I actually like reading books and old magazines. These are from the early 90s. This is People. This is from 1990. This is Vanity Fair. I know how much you love Vanity Fair.
Good people. Good people.
I read that guy's entire book
dear.
in preparation. I can read between lines.
Yeah.
What was his name? Graydon Carter? Did you ever meet him?
Well, he's a publisher, but the writer was Ed Klein.
Ed Klein.
Yeah, he worked his way into our lives and got too many intimate moments, and then he just lied like
Graydon
crazy.
Carter, he wrote that he went to your wedding. I don't know if you remember that. Maybe
He wasn't someone I was focused on at the wedding.
But let's pull up the on the screen some of the images from these magazines. Bring a blast to the past, as they say.
I can still look at those images, and whether I saw them yesterday or another day, it brings back a lot
princess.
of pain.
Yeah,
a lot of pain.
And just as an asterisk to this, I'm going to talk a little about my pain with you, and we'll talk about my life too, because I've been smeared and attacked with the best of them. I don't know, you and I, who would win the contest, but it's close.
I've just been at it a little bit longer, though I am younger than you.
I've been doing this for 15, in a major way, for 15 years.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, the smears.
Right.
But we have the, let's go through some of these.
It was one little photo shoot. Oh my gosh, so awful.
Is
so
that's
ugly.
you right there?
Look at this. It was like one of my first modeling jobs, and I didn't even know. Oh, look over here, honey. You look sexy. This is photos you hope you'll never ever see again. And people were paying anything and everything to get photographs.
Did they pay you for this? Or,
no, I didn't make any money during all of this.
1990. Let's
No.
keep going. Let's keep going.
I was the most underpaid.
Ooh
Yeah.
la la Marla.
Well, maybe that job for tequila, I guess it was a precursor for later in life I would start loving tequila, was the tequila. So that was a booking from Atlanta, and I've always played sports.
That's a
Sports
tequila
is-
bottle.
It's called tequila. I don't know if it's out there, but it's a tequila. I didn't drink it.
They say
but
tequila is the cleanest thing you can
I
drink
drink
if you're going to drink.
Tequila and mezcal, if you're going to drink.
Tequila is the cleanest, that's what they say.
Yeah, don't mix it with anything that's too sugary, and you'll be just fine. So yeah, cut. Go off that photo.
And that's a great photo, though. That's a beautiful photo.
There's another winner. There's another winner.
That's a beautiful.
I think that was
what is this from?
26 floors up on the ledge.
This is
Talking about
Annie
no fear.
Leibovitz. Annie
Leibovitz is phenomenal. I love her.
So you have a good thing to say about Annie.
Good things about Annie, and people would say it was worth doing Vanity Fair just to have the photos that Annie would shoot. But for me, it wasn't worth the anguish and the pain of reading these articles.
Well, I've heard even if they write bad things about you, Vanity Fair writers are such good writers that do you agree with that or disagree? Or?
I just think it all comes down to how do you live with yourself when you try to corrupt someone in such a way. I mean, I see
understand.
stories after stories. I mean, for me, I want to get at the heart of who people are.
Yes.
But in a situation like that, they're not paid to write specifically to lift people up.
Now
that was different.
Now this is
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Jackie Jordan and I wrote that.
George Magazine was founded by Kennedy.
I was friends with John Kennedy Jr.
John Kennedy Jr., who passed away, and it was founded in the late 90s. This is 1997 or 99? I'm trying to remember what year this is
Do you
from.
have the shot of when John asked me to do his magazine?
I don't know if we have that, but this is you on the front cover.
Yeah.
I believe this is 1999.
We just shot this.
You just did
This
shoot.
was done like within the year. This came out right before the elections.
Marla, I have so many things to talk to you about.
But you should know this. John Kennedy was a
Put that
friend, and
back
he had me. I was supposed to be on the cover dressed as Abe Lincoln, and I got beat out by, oh my gosh, Indiana Jones. What's the actor? He beat me out of the cover, but I got an inside cover and the backside cover. He draped in the United States flag.
This was just recently.
This one was recent. This one, but the previous one with John, you got to find that one.
We will find that one.
That's a fun one. If I Were President. It was a spoof we did on If I Were President, so it's kind of crazy and altered.
But let's go back to this people and ooh la la, Marla and all this stuff. And I guess you're on the front cover of magazines, and it's now, what is it, 1990? So that's 34 years ago. Looking back on it now and all of that crazy stuff, does it feel like a different life?
Oh, completely a different life. When you brought those up at dinner the other night, I was like, oh my God, you're not going to show those. But I have a stack of this big of really embarrassing covers. And, that's when I saw how they can take a bit of honesty and just mix it enough to really bully you. Yeah.
Innuendo.
And to create an image that is really not a part of the heart and soul of who you are. And it's not just me. It's
Why do you think they do that?
There's a narrative that they want to create, and it could be because of who I was in love with. It could be about, I've always believed in God. I've always had a strong faith in God. I've always believed in wellness and helping people grow, mind, body, and spirit. And sometimes people don't want to hear those good stories. I think now people do more, but I think back in those days, they just wanted to take the good and
It was a
convert
different
it.
world.
And
I know,
different world.
and we're at my headquarters, and over there on that wall is stuff from about 2009.
Yeah.
The world has changed even since then. The world has changed since the pandemic, but the media was different in 2010.
Right.
And what would you say the main difference is now versus 1990 in the media world?
I think we're more aware of what the media does to corrupt people's ideas and thoughts and really hypnotize them into a different way of seeing life. In the 90s, I don't think any of us were really aware. I mean, I would see a cover like that or the cover of the New York Post or the Daily News, and I would have auditions or be going to acting class, and I would end up sitting in a corner and crying all day instead of doing my life because it was so painful for me. And now I think if I had the wisdom I had now, I would step forward and walk in my own path without fear and believe that, who we are, you've got to stand up for it. You can't be a victim. And I let myself be a victim.
When did that shift from pain to standing in your own? self?
I think it's once I had my daughter.
And that was 1994?
Yeah, 93. 93 having Tiffany, you just realize when you are responsible for
another being.
soul, another human, like you can take on anything. Just don't mess with me and do not mess with my family.
But this pain that you felt, was that based upon the archetype they built up of you? Because you look great. I mean, everyone thinks you look great. Even now, people think you look incredible. So is this based upon... Why was it so painful just to be on the front cover of anything?
Well, first of all, I was completely out of control. I had no way to I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. I worked as an actor, yes, and I had no problem with doing interviews around a film or TV or a philanthropic endeavor. But when they're picking on, a relationship and they're creating narratives that they just take this much of the truth and they build it out, it's just really hard being seen as someone that in your soul, like I really was a good person. I might have made choices that made my life very difficult and created some chaos, and I really hate that. That's a part of growing up, right? But at the same time, I just wanted to say, take time to get to know me, right? So I spent many years trying to create a more truthful narrative, but they didn't want to hear it. And I think that's why at times I would agree to sit down and do an interview. And it was a magazine like Vanity Fair. They didn't care.
But Diane Sawyer, you said that was a pretty good one.
Diane Sawyer, I think.
Yeah. And that one's not online. We looked everywhere. I'm sure we could go to some archives in New York, but we couldn't find it anywhere on the internet.
I think I might have been wearing a suit this color
Prime
now
Time
that I
Live.
think about it.
ABC.
Oh, there it is. Look at.
Well,
can you believe it?
We have a picture.
Look at. I'm wearing the same
You have the
color.
same color. By the way, it's a beautiful color. By the way, we both look. I did not consult a stylist, but we're both dressed.
Neither did I.
What type of fashion? I don't know what type of fashion this is called.
I'm wearing linen. Linen's a great
I need to get some
fabric
linen.
to wear.
I'm in
It's
Florida.
good.
We need to get linen.
You got to get linen. It may get wrinkled, but it's
This
worth
is
it.
actually express. I just put on anything.
I was expressing myself out the door. I had so much work today, and I was like, "Oh, I need a jacket. Oh, I want jeans.
We're
Oh,
both
I need to look
kind of,
better."
Is this feng shui, like biz casual Florida? I don't know.
First of all, you're set. You've got it very feng shui.
Thank
You've
you.
got some blue-gray colors of the sea. You've got the wood. You've got the metals. You've got nice airflow.
I was telling you off camera that these nautical things are all actually off old ships. So each of these things has it's a block and tackle off a Norwegian boat.
Wow.
And so we decorated nautical, and the price is my life, which is the theme. And we have a tweet, a post tweet, I don't know, from you. If we could pull this up, where you say it's not about politics, it's about humanity.
Yeah.
These are your words.
Yeah.
And it goes back to this George magazine, which is recent. If we could pull that up. You say, it's not about politics, it's about humanity. Everything I do, it is my prayer that it's for the good of the entire world, not just red, blue, right or left. And then this is the John F. Kennedy Jr. launching George magazine. You were featured in August 97, actually. 27 years, you're back again. Are they relaunching George or something like that?
They did. They just relaunched it.
They did relaunch it.
This was part of the relaunch.
Who's running it?
It's a fellow you can look up the names, but it's two fellas that
So
nice.
we talk about the media building you up and kind of trying to destroy you. And
well, I wasn't actively looking for media, and I think there's people that are actively trying to get notoriety, and sometimes the intentions behind that can be misrepresented. And because I thought if I just live my life, it'll be good enough, and then I watched and I saw that you really have to step up for yourself. And when just before that Diane Sawyer interview, I was hoping the stories would die down, and I went to Guatemala to work with the Peace Corps. I had a friend that was with the Peace Corps, so I flew on someone else's passport. And
on someone else's passport? Did you look like them?
The world was not
Did
even...
the photo look like you?
No, I made a face that looked like her. I wore a hat, and I just played it. I would
say that into my hidden camera,
exactly.
But you're not. So
yeah,
Guatemala, you described that as the happiest month of your life. Is that still true?
Well, living in New York City as a young actor and being from a town of 500 people in Georgia, all of a sudden all the media was looking at me. They were lining up. They were outside of my grandparents' house. They were in the ditches in front of my dad's place. They were hiding out in Georgia, trying to get any information, and there was nowhere that I could go in New York City. And that's when I escaped. And I didn't want to be tracked to Guatemala. Who knew what the situation would be there? So I borrowed a friend's passport, and she was about, maybe 5 inches shorter, red hair, and maybe like 12 years older, but it worked. And going to Guatemala was really about letting go of everything that this world may represent and just seeing the heart and soul of people that had nothing, but they had everything.
And we have some photos of you with these, I guess they're Guatemalan children.
Oh,
just stay on this for a minute. This is 1993 or so.
Yeah.
And
sweethearts.
this was the happiest
this was beautiful.
You've been.
You saw the purity of life. You saw the purity of humanity. They cared not who I was. They cared just about sharing a smile.
They didn't know that you were Marla Maples, wife of Trump.
They didn't know that I would have this life in New York City, and that's why I went there. I just wanted to be where it didn't matter anything about the outside world, but the heart of who people were, and they were precious. I bet they're grown up now. I want to go see them.
Well, so many people want fame.
Yeah.
And there was a recent quote by someone who said, I think it was Ben Affleck who said, people want money, they want fame. He's like, choose money, because fame is not all it's cracked up to be. I think my favorite quote from Ben Affleck, he said, it's got me out of a few parking tickets, and that's the best about it.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize just how horrible fame is. I mean,
The price.
Tell me about that.
The price.
Talk about that.
Well, I could have done better with money, but that was never my motivation either. But I even today when I'm offered to do shows and I have to really think, do I want to give up more of my anonymity to do them? Is the good going to outweigh the challenge of being famous?
But what is the challenge with the fame?
That you're going to be in these narratives where people just feel like they have any right to speak any words around you, whether they're true, accurate, or not. I don't mind meeting people and saying hello and having sweet fans that are around. But when you really can't move through your life, it's very tough. And there's a lot of what we call lashon hara, evil talk.
Lashon hara?
Lashon hara.
What is that language?
It's Hebrew. It's Hebrew.
Hebrew.
In Hebrew, lashon hara, it's called evil tongue. So the more famous you are, the more eyes you have on you, and the more negative words. And when you speak something negative about another person, it doesn't just hurt you, it hurts the person who's speaking it, and also hurts the people that are around.
Human nature.
Yeah. So human nature is to be judging and to find something that you think for a moment it gives you energy.
It's vindictive a little bit.
But it gives you, people I think get excited to tell this story about someone who is maybe for a moment they feel better and they feel like they're making themselves better as they're lowering someone else. But what's actually happening, you're lowering everyone. So it's a really big...
So you've really had to struggle with that. And I mean, we all struggle with it to a certain degree, but you struggle with it in a major way.
I learned a lot because when I became famous and when I was accused of being a gold digger, and it's hysterical because people always say, who can marry a billionaire and walk away with $1 million? That was me because I never made money the motive, and it never was. I mean, I could use more to help do the work that we're doing now. But I think when your motivations are one way and then you see a distortion, it's painful. And I think it can block you. Like suddenly I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted. I was offered like lingerie endorsements. I didn't want to do lingerie endorsements.
Yeah.
I was offered like $3 million a couple of times to do Playboy magazine.
$3 million for Playboy.
Yeah, I think it was $1 million at one point, and then it was $2 million at another point. And to me, it's like it's not just about my grandparents were still alive, and I want them to be proud. But to me, that's a private thing. It's not for the world to see.
But nowadays, you have these girls in Miami. They're all OnlyFans. Everyone's whoring themselves, pardon my language, but whoring all their bodies out. And it's so common. I mean, it's actually probably the majority.
Well, they're losing themselves too. And they're going to lose their joy. And
but that's when they're very young. They're in their 20s or whatever the case. So they haven't gotten to that point yet where they realize.
I think the influencer world sort of did that. You know, the more
Instagram
skin you show, the more followers you get, right?
This is before Instagram. This is before the internet, obviously.
Yeah. This was way before. This is
actually before the internet even started.
I remember when I got my first email address and my first computer, and it was the early 90s, I think, right? I remember walking around Manhattan carrying a phone this big.
America Online was at 94.
Yeah, I still have an AOL email address.
The markets are in chaos, and just coming off 4 years of economic insanity, stabilization is nowhere in sight. Many experts are predicting a recession before it gets better. That's why I recommend getting gold from the people I trust at Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a respected America First business. Click the link below and you can qualify to get $20,000 of free silver with a qualifying purchase. The markets are chaotic, but gold is always gold. Write this down, FisherOMG.com, or click the link below, FisherOMG.com.
I mean, there's one quote here. You were jogging on the beach in a red wig to stay incognito. Is that true?
I should have known you. We could have worked together.
You know, in the undercover world, we always say it's not so much your disguise, it's the way you carry yourself.
Oh, I like that.
I get away with people asking me, like, how are you able to meet with all these guys in the deep state with a pair of glasses?
Yeah.
But you definitely, I relate to this because I have a degree of infamy, or I'm a public figure in some ways, and I don't like it. It's the hardest part of my life, and I've talked to you about this. Right. We had dinner. We talked about like being at the Mar-a-Lago, and I have to say this because I don't remember anybody's name, and people. It's almost like you can't. It's almost like you're having this interaction with someone, and you can't really have a substantive conversation because. And I'm a truth teller, so my audience might not like me saying this, but they kind of treat you like a piece of meat. They just want a photo with me, or they don't want to have a conversation. They just want that photograph. And it's hard for them to even have a conversation with me. So all you can do is smile and nod and just say thank you. And they want to be validated by you. Right. So they say, do you remember me? I met you 7 years ago. And the truth is, I think I do, but what's my name? Tell me my name. So you had this incredible way. Marla told me in dinner, she goes, remind me your name. It was so graceful the way you said it.
Just reach out to them, look in their eyes and say, please remind me of your name.
It was very graceful.
And you're sharing your energy and you're giving them care. But there's no way you can remember everyone.
I can't.
And I'm like you. I started dealing with fame in a huge way. I was kind of a big fish in a small town, so I always had some fame, being an athlete.
In Georgia.
In Georgia, being an athlete and then, doing pageants, which I never liked or wanted to do.
Why didn't you like pageants?
Because I was an athlete. I didn't want to be dolling around in high heels and a bikini in front of people, but it was a way to sort of break through, and people were urging me. My father made a lot of money, did a lot, but then he lost his money, and I had to continue with my education. And so it was a way I could make some extra money, and so I did do the pageants, but it never was comfortable to me. I never was comfortable in that skin.
You weren't comfortable in that arena.
But it brought fame, and then moving to New York, and in the early 90s, there was really nowhere I could go after those stories broke, and very, very painful for me because I like intimate conversations. I like to get to know someone, and you're constantly, like I think you and I both said, if I could have a dime for every time somebody grabs me and wants a photo, we would be so rich, right?
Yeah, I say, man, when people come up to me now, I say I should be charging for this.
And I was right beside you, and we were both going through that at your opening.
You saw that at the party. We were at the dance party together, and people were, and people are going to misinterpret this. They're going to think, and whenever I talk about this, people don't seem to understand, and or they'll say something to me like, "God, you look so tired." You look exhausted. I mean, I work 100 hours a week. I'm traveling around the country. I was in the riots in
You're
L.A.
risking your life.
I just came back from L.A.
You can be tired.
They were tear gas and horses, and I got back. You look so tired. It's almost like I want to say, you look lazy. What have you done this weekend? You work 9 to 5? You go watching Netflix at night?
Yeah, but then you're going right back into judging. You got to
I don't want to, but I don't want to do that. But it's just like so. But anyway,
as a comedian, you got to think that way.
I got to think. I'm voicing my internal monologue. Let's go back to Guatemala. These Guatemalan children. You know, Marla, I relate to this because, and I wanted to talk to you about your experience in Guatemala. Yeah. Escaping the tabloids of New York, the high stakes world, the fashion, the entertainment, to be with children who don't know who you are. I don't know if we have this, but the Line in the Sand, there's 2 clips from this movie I made called Line in the Sand. This was last year, a year ago last month,
Great movie.
where I was with Venezuelan children documenting their journey to the United States on the train of death, El Tren de la Muerte. People started moving to the back of the train because if Mexican immigration officials came, it would be easier to escape. They're helping each other as they cross from car to car. With gaps in between the cars, 15 feet off the ground, people become paralyzed with fear, and some need help to cross. And then we have another clip we're going to play. Play that second clip. For a brief time, I felt the happiness that comes along with being part of a close-knit community where the only thing they have was to depend upon each other. Football Americano. Andiamo y catch. Just pause this for... I was in this place where, you know, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I was struck by the humanity of it.
Yeah.
And if you just want to scroll and see these kids in this video, if you scroll through the video, just pause on the children's faces. These kids had absolutely not. Yeah, these kids here, we get a faces.
Joy.
Okay, I bought like an 80-cent ball at the Mexican store across the street from this. This is an area underneath an overpass. They're about to board a train to get to the United States. This is in Mexico. This is in Irapuato, Mexico. And I've never seen kids happier.
This is one of my favorite scenes for the whole movie, by the way.
The kids were happy, though.
Yeah.
Did you find the children in Guatemala were happy?
Completely. And even the workers in the fields that I would see would like wave and smile, and I'd go, oh, I love you. And we, you know, I didn't speak Spanish, but you could just feel the energy exchange of love and joy. And that's the issue. When you get down to the roots of just looking another person in the eye, and you took time to have this playful moment with the kids, you're unusual for them to see someone like you there. It was a great joy from them.
I think they're this group of people, they're kind of a cohesive group, and they're not friendly with outsiders, but we got them some food and some water. And there's one moment, I don't think it's on camera, but I was given, I forgot, I think I was given Pizza Hut. I bought pizza, and I gave the pizza, and some of these mothers, she gave me her bottle of water, and it's like, this is all the water she has. Why is she giving me her water? But I found that I did not expect this part of the experience.
That gives you more energy to keep moving on what you're doing, right?
It was, you know, I didn't know what we were going to find when we made Line in the Sand or what the story was. I was just following the journey of these people, but I kind of felt like I was in this humanitarian moment, and I connected with them, and I was no longer a journalist. I was now a participant participating in their struggle. I was one of them, even though I'm a gringo, I'm a white guy, although they thought I was Russian or something. We tried to make it like we weren't American, but I was one of them.
Right.
And I was struck by the humanitarian nature of the circumstances.
I think that's what's so beautiful about this choice, is this was a humanitarian choice. This wasn't a joyride. This was you getting into the roots to feel what it felt like. And
I wasn't expecting to feel that. I was expecting to experience brutality and you know, there was the cartel, and they, you know, arrested us. And
well, this makes you even more care more about making sure these kids are okay, that they're not just being sent over the border and put into, you know, trafficking. And I think if painful.
And a lot of the people who are, I mean, I'm about a secure border. You can't have lawlessness, but I think if people were to look into children's eyes and be with them, it might change their perspective. So I mean, you were in Guatemala, and you were amongst those people, and
And I did the same thing in India. I had the chance to do that in India also. But that was a real turning point for me because I saw the ugliness of the world in the wealthiest places.
Where?
In New York City. In New York City, I saw how ugly it could all turn, and I saw the darkness of what the media can do, and I saw the lies and people just not caring about humanity. And when I had the chance to leave all that and go to Guatemala, it just like came right back to the roots of why we're all here. And we're here to share moments like you had.
Have you been to Guatemala since?
I am so anxious to go to Guatemala. I've not been since, but it's really a goal of mine. Antigua is a beautiful place. I was on Tikal, went up to the Mayan ruins, had some incredible experiences there, stayed after dark when you're supposed to leave, and really experienced a lot. It was beautiful. What a beautiful place, but a lot of unrest, like most of the world right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Right as we sit here, everything's in a state of chaos, it seems, and confusion.
But we've got to be the calm in the storm, right?
We meaning us individuals?
Well, I think that's my role, and I keep reminding myself when I can get very caught up energetically in what's happening around me is to be the calm in the storm. The storm's going to maybe go for a while, but we have to be able to find
You're talking
peace.
about you as an individual.
I'm talking about humanity, like people, not just me, but more. I have a lot of friends that really work on that. That we get so much information. I mean, it's every day I'm getting information that some of it is very painful to hear, and you want to dig down the rabbit hole and see what's real and what's not. And I'm constantly making sure that I'm not brainwashed in any way of thinking. Really, we all have to break through this patterning that's happened to us through the media or outside.
How do you
forces.
verify? You get a lot of information.
Yeah.
You work with Baha and Bobby Kennedy, but how do you ascertain if the information you're receiving is true and real? What are the criteria for you?
Well, I would call my friend James O'Keefe. No, honestly, I mean, I have a big faith in God. I believe in the divine presence, and I've been a Christ person all my life. And I am one that will go to a lot of people that I trust and ask opinions, and then I've got to really, really pray about it.
Credible sources, people that have shown trustworthiness.
People that have shown trustworthiness, that are very wise beyond this world. I have a few friends like that I trust when it's really hard to trust everyone else.
Well, for me, it's there's that definitely credible. It's also like, can I see it? Is it real? There's deep fakes, but in journalism, you could have multiple sources, but often it's my own team recording it. So it's like, we know it's real. It's on our devices. They're not tampered with.
Right.
I know that's real.
Right.
And there is only one truth. There's only one reality.
But most people don't have the opportunity to
do
what you do, and that's the
true.
issue. Then they have to choose: are we going to believe what James is doing? Or are we going to believe what we see on this network or that network? It's hard for average folks. I mean, I've had to walk a fine line with so many friends that believe an exact opposite narrative of what I believe. But I keep bringing us back to trust me, trust my heart. And bringing back, the common ground with all of us.
Consensus. That's what I always say. I think it's about what unites us is so much stronger than what divides us. That sounds like a hippie liberal. I don't think it is. I think it's quite constitutional. It's consistent with the First Amendment.
Right.
And when I do stories, I try to find what's the consensus here. Like in Line in the Sand, for example, that movie. These women with babies strapped to their chest, and they're climbing aboard a freight train. I think we can all agree this is not
right,
appropriate to get run. I mean, it's gruesome. I won't even say some of the things that happened, but it's just wrong. And I think we can all agree: left, liberal, right wing, Democrat, right? And so that's what the consensus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a part of it's like, why did you come to this world to learn? I mean, I think bigger. Like sometimes we're all souls. We are souls. We come into the world with a mission, and we each have our lessons we have to learn, and some of them are harder than others. And these kids, they're there and they're struggling. Their parents are in financial trouble, whatever it is, with the gangs and the drug lords, what they will pay and do. So there's a lot of things that are interfering with just a child having a life.
This is a question I ask everybody, but I'm curious. This child trafficking and some of those unaccompanied children coming to the United States, and Bobby Kennedy is now the head of Health and Human Services, which is responsible for overseeing the programs that help these unaccompanied migrant children. There's like 500,000 of them. Yeah. Many of them are missing with these so-called sponsors. Yeah. And unlike the foster care system, sponsors are not vetted. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they had to get all these kids in the country. They can't ask questions on the previous administration. Do you think the American people are capable of handling the truth, the dark truths?
Well, I think some people can't. I really do. I think it's kind of. I found it quite balanced with the friends that I could talk to some of the dark truths with, and others that were like, hey, today, just would rather.
They just want to not know.
Rather not know. They'd rather live their life, and I'm not judging them, but they would rather just create fun and have a good life and a happy life. And if they hear these things, then it's going to make them have to step up more.
Like even with the health work that you do and the wellness work, there are some chemicals and problems. Do you find people just the same thing? I don't want to know it because I consume that beverage or I eat that stuff?
For sure.
Is it the same kind of, is it coming from the same place?
I think it is. I mean, there's been so many cover-ups for so long with the foods and the pesticides in our country, and why we have a chronic illness and our children, what they've gone through, and we end up with a chronic society, right? But sometimes people would rather just have that Diet Coke and not think about it.
Ignorance, almost.
Well, just like comforts, like what brings them comfort. And to be healthy, it takes a lot of work. I mean, really, you have to make choices. You've got to be willing to read the labels and do a little background check and see who's spraying their chemicals. And, we've been dealing with Global Wellness Forum on the chemicals being sprayed in the air, geoengineering.
How long have you been working on Global Wellness Forum?
We created this Dr. Ed group. Myself and Sarah G were having a conversation right after Donald became president. And we're like...
This term,
yeah. And I always wanted to help. We're all working individually for most all of my life. I've cared about helping people with their, how they eat, how they take care of themselves, not with their nutrition, but also their thoughts. And we were just having a chat, and I said, we've got to do something to support getting Bobby in, and then supporting Bobby once he's in, and of course Tiffany's father also, and what they're going to hope to do together. And at that moment we said, well, let's just do it. Let's create something special where we can be outside of the government, but helping support the initiatives and working with grassroots, right?
So we actually have the Global Wellness Forum website up here. There's this video. I'm going to play a little bit of it.
Breathe in. Feel that? The air is crisp, untouched. No haze, no weight, just the quiet whisper of the trees, the rhythm of the earth beneath your feet. Welcome home. This is the place where water is just water, where every bite nourishes, every breath strengthens, where children wake up in the morning and go outside without worry, without warnings, just being children.
So what is the mission of this group?
The mission of what we're doing is to bring awareness to what has happened to our nation and our world as far as pollutants in the sky, in the water, in our food, and how to help relieve the chronic illness that we're all suffering through.
That's quite an objective.
Yeah. Well, we've already worked on legislation here in Florida, and we have geoengineering banned in the state.
What is it?
Geoengineering banned
that?
in the state. That is, well, when you see the trails in the sky, the illegal spraying. Now the spraying of chemicals is now illegal in the state of Florida.
I saw Kennedy mention something about that the other day.
Bobby, we work with him because we've got to do it at a community level, and then on a federal level too is the goal. I think kids notice it. I was with some of my friends' children, and they've been noticing up in the sky. What are those lines? What are those crisscross patterns? Why is
so
that
people have asked me to investigate this. I don't know enough to comment, but tell the audience what's happening.
Well, we've done a lot of investigating. There's so many people on the ground that are doing this all the time, and so what's been happening is there are some endeavors that have been done to create toxic air pollution, and the glyphosate and other things that are in the air are affecting the air that we breathe, going into the water, going to the soil. There's just a lot of forces at play to make us sick, because being sick is a big moneymaker. And
being sick is a big moneymaker. Yeah. It stands to reason. It's so self-evident.
Yeah.
But it's true, isn't it? It's all about money.
Yeah,
it's about money.
It's about control and money, and a lot of people want to control population. There's enough land for all of us. We don't have to get rid of half the population, and that's thoughts that some of the folks have that are doing some forcing vaccinations on kids that would otherwise not need it. You look at the abuse that's happened in India and Africa with children being tested on these vaccinations and being maimed or dying. It's not right.
Well, we did a story on Johnson & Johnson that we are releasing, and it's showing a lead regulatory scientist saying their product, their vaccine is, quote, not safe and effective. This is the guy who's managing it, and I confronted him, and he's in a state of shock, forced to confront his own words. And I didn't say this, but I said, how could you live with yourself selling this thing? I guess people need to have a job and make money. And
a lot of scientists have come forward, and Dr. Malone has come forward, right?
I love Dr. Malone.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
There's some real warriors out there that come forward.
But he's also just like a decent man,
Yeah.
very well spoken, very good writer.
Right. And so I think there's some brave souls that have stood up and said, this is not what I want to do.
Have you read...
I think that's how I got in trouble with the CIA following me, actually, is I was speaking to someone that was a part of the deep state that was not willing to go along with what was happening with creating this COVID vaccine. And he knew that there was a plan to make sure a lot of people died from it.
They have to be careful, the individuals and the shadowy individuals who do this sort of thing, because sunlight is the best disinfectant.
They didn't want us outside, did they?
And even that video of the CIA official saying what he said about you, now they're exposed.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's going to deter them to continue to do the activities.
Well, hopefully we have a different team in place now.
Hopefully, but a lot of the guys...
because now we care about, this group cares about humanity. We want to get people well.
What about the people within Kennedy's group? Or I know he got rid of the 16 CDC people, and Malone has been promoted. But what about the deep state officials who are there permanently? Who because the IRS has 80,000 people or whatever it is. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know those numbers, but I just know that we have to do our work, and the more we do, and the more we gather community and people that are like ourselves, not afraid of speaking out, the more good we're going to do.
Let's go to, this is a TED Talk you did. Was it 3 years ago?
Years better than I do.
I
try to
years.
forget about the years.
Forget
I don't
time.
count.
Forget time. Time is an illusion of the mind.
You.
Only love remains.
Thank you.
It's a quote from Eclipse of the Sun by Michael O'Brien.
Now you're speaking my language.
I know. Now I'm speaking the language of Marla Maples. That's your love language. See, my love language is food.
I love hugs also. Hugs are very important. So that'll come later.
What were we talking about? Faith over fear. This is a topic very near and dear to my heart. While they're loading this up, I'm going to read you the quote. Faith over fear. People, we live in a time of the unknown, probably like no other time in our lifetime. That's particularly true today with the Iran-Israel situation.
Right.
As we look around the world and we see people with their fears, it's heartbreaking. I want to just grab every person and hold them and say, it's going to be okay. Have faith. We can do this. I do feel I was born to be alive in this time. And I talk about fear, and I think that all of the wisdom and all of the world's knowledge, it would say, have no fear. Yeah. It's a cliche. FDR said it. He said the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. But what I see every day, I see it chronically, is everyone's scared to death. What are people afraid of?
Well, not being in control of their lives. Like people want to control what's happening around them, and that it's not, you've got to surrender that. You've got to surrender it's an illusion if we think we're in control. I mean, you can have an intention to go shoot a film like Line in the Sand, but you don't know what's going to happen. You've got to be prepared for anything, but you stayed on point with your purpose, right?
Truth.
Yeah.
The pursuit of truth.
The pursuit of truth is why you do it without knowing where it's going to go. And we live in a world where we don't know where it's going to go. So if we are fearing, then we're drawing that energy into us. It's about waking up every day and saying, okay, God, I've got this. Prepare me for what's coming today. Let me trust that whatever it is, good, bad, don't judge it. Just live in the center of it. Right? You live in the center of it, so you know that it comes to help teach you and help lead you on the right path.
I mean, it's interesting you're saying that you people want control over the outcome.
Yeah.
They want to control.
Yeah.
They want to know what's going to happen.
Right.
So they're afraid of the unknown.
Right.
And you're not afraid of the unknown.
Well, I think I'm alive in this world. How am I not going to live life? Not afraid of the unknown because I trust. I have this crazy trust that everything that's coming towards me is making me, that my soul's going to evolve, that I'm going to learn something so amazing from it, and it's an opportunity to go to my next level.
Do people want to live that way, or do they just want safety and comfort and do they want safety and comfort and knowledge of the? Oh, you're looking at the TED Talk here. Do we have the TED Talk yet, guys?
I was being a girl looking at that angle. I was remembering that I had the worst allergies I've ever had that day, and I literally didn't think I was going to get through the interview.
Well, what I find being on stage
I had
is
fear. I had a little bit of fear about that.
I don't know if that's fear. That's like when I'm on stage and I'm giving a presentation, I just want, does the technology work? Kind of like right now. Is the technology, it's not fear, it's like concern that the thing is going to work.
Right.
So,
and yet you never know where our conversation will go.
You never know.
Work.
You never know as a consequence. But you're on stage, you're having these allergic situations.
I had a tissue in my back pocket because my nose kept running and I was sneezing. And there I have my 12 minutes on stage with a live audience and being recorded for my first TED Talk. So.
Well, let's play a little clip of it.
Yeah.
Today, what I want to talk to you about is fear, because we live in a time of the unknown. Probably like no other time in our lifetime. And as we look around the world and we see people with their fears, it's heartbreaking. I want to just grab every person and hold them in my arms and say, it's going to be okay. Have faith. We can do this. I do feel that I was born to be alive in this time and space, as you all are.
You quoted that.
I did.
So there was a time when faced with fear, I had a choice: surrender into it, be still in it, or kind of fight.
So the fear, as I'm giving this talk, is that I am not hearing how loud my voice is. Sounds like I'm whispering, right? But I had to go, okay, either you have a purpose for being on this stage or you don't. Don't let any of that stuff get in the way of what you're supposed to do.
Nervous giving a public talk?
Well, it was just because I was not feeling well, too. You know, and I had things I wanted to cover, but I didn't. My computer broke on the way. I didn't
it's always
get
the technology.
Yeah,
Trust
the
me,
technology broke. I wasn't able to write my speech. I wanted to have it down.
I was giving a speech
minutes.
in, I believe it was Georgia, your native Georgia, and I went up to the podium and I had this beautiful PowerPoint. I hit the button, nothing happened, and it was total crickets. It was just like out of a Saturday Night Live. It was just embarrassing. There was like a cough, like it was quiet as a pin dropped. I don't know if that's a fear. There's a difference between like a danger and a concern and a fear. Like there's a danger that they don't pay my organization because my technology didn't work. I don't know if it's fear, but I get your point.
Well, I think it's like we want to be able to give the best we can when we're there, and the situations can happen that can maybe.
But what you're talking about here is I think the solution to all problems is fear. And I see it in my work in that we tell the truth about people. Yeah. We tell the absolute truth about people. I mean, we go after people. I just released a video yesterday showing one of the lawyers was attacking me, and very few people are willing to tell the absolute truth for fear of something.
Right.
Fear of
So what do you think it is? So being exposed, or maybe they're
retaliation. People are afraid of losing something. They're being retaliated against in some way.
Yeah,
and it's interesting.
People are holding a lot of secrets. You know, there's a lot of corruption that's been going on in our world for so long, and people are holding on to secrets and trying to save themselves. And maybe they're paid to give this narrative, and it's not a true narrative, right? We've seen that over and over again. So I think there's a lot of things that motivate, and maybe they're not bad people, but they made bad choices.
Well, yeah, they did bad things.
Bad choices.
Not the sinner, but the sin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, all of us have light and dark, right?
True.
But what are you going to listen to?
Well, let me ask you, when people have light and dark, and my favorite quote by Alexander Solzhenitsyn is the line that separates the light and dark runs through every human heart. The good and evil runs through every human heart. And that oscillates, that shifts, that changes. It's the good and evil doesn't run through the countries. It doesn't run through the boundaries of the countries. It actually runs through each of us. And in your experience, as someone who talks about this light, it's different degrees of dark and light in each individual, right? Mm-hmm. And would you say that most people mostly have majority light in them, or is that in the minority of people?
Hope so. I think we come to the world to try to learn how to balance that. But when we were, I worked with a wonderful group when we created spirituality for kids years ago, and the teachers would teach the children that we have the voices in our head. One is more light, one's more dark. But let's turn the volume up on the light voice.
Turn the volume up.
Yeah, turn the volume up on the light.
Do you do that? Do you have two voices inside of yourself?
I think that we have a choice at every moment. Like, is this going to bring positivity for someone, or is this going to bring someone down? And a lot of people are motivated for different reasons. Like we're taught, I've never been motivated for money, but I've been motivated. One of the things I work on is that I want to be liked. So truly, I was within the 90s. I had so many judgments thrown at me. I was ridiculed. I was accused of so many bad things. And here I was just wanting to be liked. And I was fighting to swim just to be liked, right? But that's why? Why do you need to be liked? You can't really have an impact and be liked by everybody. But that, as a Southern girl, that was in me. Like, you wanted to do the right thing, say the right thing, and everyone to like you. And you got to be willing to give all that up.
It's different in little town in Georgia versus Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's a whole different
Yeah, but I was a little town girl in Manhattan with all the eyes on me at that time. And so I did not know how to deal with it, because my life up to that point had been pretty great. I mean, we all suffered. I've gone through some abusive relationships. I watched my parents go through divorce. So there'd been suffering, lost people I loved at a young age. But basically, I was always the homecoming queen, the nice girl, the smart one. And then suddenly you're accused of being anything but. So it was painful, but I had to learn that lesson, right? So I would not take that lesson away, because I had to learn that everyone doesn't have to like you. You just have to be able to walk your path that's true to you and live your passions. Do you do what you do because you want to be liked?
Well, it's interesting you say being liked. It's like, what's that quote? You can tell someone's virtues by your enemies and your vices by your friends. So to the extent that you're disliked, you want to make sure you're disliked by all the right people.
For the right reasons.
Like the CIA or the FBI or Pfizer doesn't like me.
Yeah, I was going to say the pharmaceuticals,
it depends upon who did you want to be liked by?
Oh, it's just a Southern thing. It's like
just
I grew up in that Bible Belt.
Southern. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm not.
No, we all, all of us girls, we just wanted to have it together.
And this is a different context. Nowadays, Generation Z, it's all Instagram, posting photos of themselves, getting the clicks.
Yeah, it's
back
different.
In the late 80s, being liked meant what?
Well, just being able to, walk down the street and see people and know that there's a good energy between you. You don't want to feel that negative, like, because being hated is like, sometimes it feels like you're.
But don't they just envy you because you're pretty? I mean, isn't that turn into a kind of resentment? People,
that's, some people have an issue with.
I think a lot of people have
jealousy,
that issue.
And we've all experienced it.
We've all experienced it.
I mean, I see people in my generation who've had so much success, and I go, why didn't I have that kind of success? And I go, because I'm on a different path, So it's constantly a job of coming back and saying, my gosh, you're walking. Your feet are in this path, and it's not meant to be someone else's. This is your path. Don't want someone else's path.
Right.
Because you really don't know what they've done.
The greatest challenge I would pose to the audience here is, and people always, I was talking to Logan about this, is that people always say, oh, it's the other guy who's envious. Oh, it's the other guy who's greedy.
Yeah.
It's the other girl she's got issues. Like, why don't you look inside your heart and ask yourself if you're truly happy for another person's success. And if you can conquer that within yourself, then that's really how you change the world. You find the light within yourself. Because if we're honest with each other, are we really happy when we see someone else's financial success?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find.
Sometimes it's painful, especially when you feel like, well, why didn't I get that? What did I do? Sometimes it is painful. And I think as a human being, it's important to look inside yourself.
That you have to conquer that. So you talk about being liked, but you also talk about suffering, and we all suffer, and not necessarily is someone suffering more suffering or less suffering than the other person. We all go through pain. What was the most painful thing you've been through in your life?
Oh my goodness.
Of all of these things?
There's been so many.
Was it particularly acute pain for you? Like for me, let me go first. For me, it was Project Veritas firing me.
I know. Yeah.
And I've been jailed and incarcerated and sued, dozens of times and been through the smears. But that for me, how about for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, when I was in my 20s, it was the pain was so great. I didn't know how to really breathe or move when all those tabloids came out.
The tabloids.
Yeah, the tabloids. It affected me in such a deep way because I was quite innocent and very naive at the time. And I wasn't quite sure what was going on.
Was there like a particular tabloid or just all of them?
It was all of them. It was every tabloid from the National Enquirer. Oh, so painful. And to even the Post and all these papers at the time, it was all about, not about substance. It was about getting people to buy the papers, and they didn't care who they hurt in the middle of it. And because I didn't want to bring pain to others, and I realized I was in a situation that did bring pain to others, so that was painful.
Pain to others, like you talk about this idea of people feeling emotions, reacting to this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to dwell in the past too much, but I was in a situation that it was a difficult situation in the 90s. A lot of the tabloids were talking about it, but in my heart, I always, wanted to do everything just with love in the center of it and care in the center of it. And sometimes you can get so involved that other people do end up getting hurt.
What mistakes looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, and again, I'll go first. I I hired the wrong people. I've made mistakes in my life that caused me to learn from that. But what mistakes did you make during that time?
Trusting people that maybe my intuition told me not to, but I wanted to see the good. And I will see the good in people first. But that first intuition you have about someone is usually what you need to really be aware of.
How do you know what that is?
Well, I know now because of the pain and hurt. I had a stalker, someone that was working with me, that something in me said something's not right. But he would do all these good deeds for me or my family. And I would think, well, gosh, but he did that. So maybe I'll just let him in my life. And then the addiction of being in my life got stronger and stronger and stronger until it exploded.
Do you still have stalkers?
I hope that they're all
Without
calmed down now.
Without mentioning any individuals.
I think they're calmed down now. Hopefully. I mean, I've had to keep a protective order.
We have
many
stalkers
years.
here. I have stalkers.
Yeah.
I had to go to.
Do you have protective orders against?
I had to go to in New York City. This made the New York Post, believe it or not. We had one in New York that would call my phone so much that I could not make an outgoing phone call. I think it's part of being a public figure.
Yeah.
Most of them are females.
Oh, well, they don't know how to get your attention, so they're doing it the wrong way.
And it's not necessarily like you would think. They're not like romantic. They're just stalkers. They're just...
They're drawn to your energy field. So you've got to learn how to protect yourself. We talk about that.
Well, we talk about energy, and that's interesting because I have found, and the word narcissist is such an overused word these days. I mean, there are qualities, but it seems like...
The balance of the ego, right?
The what?
Finding a balance with your ego.
With your ego. And we talked about ego, and you have to have a little bit of an ego to succeed.
Right. I think so. And I went through a stage where I just felt like I depleted my ego completely. And then I was like living my life just very like I had no passion. So sometimes ego helps you get passion to do something more, right?
Mm-hmm. And confidence, and you have to walk through walls and court and media. If you don't have a little bit of an ego, you can't. As a leader, you can't doubt yourself too much. I think one of the misconceptions about me, it's like, well, he's so so full of. People don't realize, like, sometimes I torture myself at night. Did I make the right decision? Did I do the right thing? So you get that right balance. You don't want to be too hard on yourself.
Yeah. And when you wake up in the morning, you've got to like really be clear of how you're going to set your attention, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it in the day. And every day, I know you have so many people that send you stories. You got to cover this, you got to cover that. Then you have to make a choice.
That's the hardest part, is the burden of all of the things to expose, like Mickey Willis, who did the Plandemic movie. I mean, he did such a good job. But then the problem, the price of success is now everyone's asking 100 times a day for you to help them solve their problems, and when you say the word no to people, they can resent that.
I know, and that's why one of the reasons I started the Marla Maples Foundation is because I need a team of people to help me process all these asks that I get, and some of them are gut wrenching. You feel the pain of people that just need to know where to go to get help, and I was just with Mickey over the weekend, and he says everyone comes up to me with an idea.
Everyone.
Because there's so many issues, and that happens to me too. Whether it's for they need help with healing, what to take, what to do, who to see, or a situation where they've been let down by the government. There's fraudulent activity, something that happened maybe last administration, maybe now, and I just want to help them. My heart, if I haven't accomplished something to help in the day, I really can beat myself up.
Does that fill up your energy by helping everyone? Because at a certain point,
because you can't.
You can't
here
do
it is,
that.
and this is where you have to, again, diminish your ego a little bit to think, really, you're capable of doing that for everyone? We're not. But I'm capable of listening as well as I can, and now I want to have a team that can help me help other people, because there are people that know how to get things done in all these different levels, right? And I want to be able to help guide people. So that is really what's given me this desire.
So the mission of Marla Maples Foundation is different than the wellness. What's the mission of Marla Maples?
Jackie Jordan came to me after she saw me give a talk. And
in full disclosure, I've had dinner with Jackie Jordan and you and some other friends.
Yeah, Global Wellness Forum team. Yes. Yeah, great folks that care, that aren't afraid.
We're talking about protein powder and whey protein powder.
Which one
Be careful of that. I don't want to say it on the air unless we need to get some branding.
Yeah, so
here.
maybe we just need to get the right protein powder for James.
I got this version that supposedly has nothing, bad chemicals in it, but who knows? The guy, your colleague, I forget his name.
Dr. Ed Group.
What was his name at the head of the table there?
Dr. Group?
Dr. Group.
Ed Group, yeah.
Dr. Group said he's going to run the powder through some experiment to make sure there's no bad stuff.
Every time somebody, because, being on Instagram, you become like an influencer. And people send you so many brands and someone to pay you to promote
And I don't want to do any advertising unless I use the product and I believe in the product.
Absolutely.
I mean that sincerely.
So I run everything through the Global Healing Center through Dr. Ed Group's group. He's got all the scientists on board. He can find where the ingredients come from.
I got to follow up with him. I will follow up with him.
You will follow up with him.
What are we talking about? We're talking about a lot of things here. We're talking about
how we can help people.
Well,
and how
narcissism and energy, and I think this is a very important topic, and I think this is one that I don't know if I've asked you this question in our dinners, but the idea that creating boundaries, because in this world, in healing and in journalism, you're helping people. And man, I mean, if I do a story, I'm doing a story right now in D.C. On serious corruption, 4 months.
Oh, dear.
And you get pitched 100 times a day. So it's tough to help everybody in a you work in philanthropy. I work in half of what I do is philanthropic.
Of course.
And it's hard in philanthropy because you're giving of yourself to help people. And I'm talking in America. Maybe we go to Guatemala and Venezuela. It's infinite energy. I don't know if I'd ever run out of. It's almost like a different thing, isn't it?
I know. That's
it's
why we need to take ourselves away from our environment.
It's like a vacation. To do Habitat for Humanity or whatever it is.
Even though you're riding in this little broken down bus and there's no plumbing anywhere, you got to go potty in the fields. Train of death, like you were on. My gosh!
Yeah.
But you're purposed and your soul is like somehow like being fed.
Well, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, survival. In America, it's like make sure there isn't the wrong vitamin B in the sports drink.
Oh, gosh,
it's a different thing.
I know. I'm checking out what you're drinking
Apparently, did you know, and I know we were talking about, but the wrong vitamin B is like, it's like got arsenic.
Is it methylated? Is it methylated? Is it not?
I think that's it.
And now
I just found this out.
Yeah.
Like it's in a lot of stuff.
Well, how about the sea salts? Now they're saying in the sea salt.
I don't know about that.
No, there's a big thing about, because I believe in putting healthy minerals in my water first thing in the morning, do a half a lemon, warm water, and then put the salts in. And I was tested about a year ago, high levels of arsenic, and then a study came out that some of the sea salts have arsenic levels that are high. So now here I am thinking I'm doing something healthy.
Most people don't even drink water in the morning. Like little life hack, O'Keefe tip: 20 ounces of water, lemon, and salt. But you got to have the right salt.
You got to have the right salt.
And life hack: your life will improve. But half people don't even do that.
I know.
So let's start with the basics, and then we'll work on which vitamin B. So let's talk about. So you went to Mount Abu,
India.
India,
yeah.
And and I can't even pronounce these things, but I'm going to attempt to.
Brahmakumaris? Is that
Brahmakumaris or Brahmakumaris?
Brahmakumaris, yeah.
And how many, 20 years of this sort of studying you've done, is that correct? Or how long have you been working with?
No. I just was invited to go there and speak. It was a big forum with like 10,000 people.
2018?
Yeah, in 2018.
But you've studied Kabbalah.
No.
I got it wrong. Kabbalah, see? Kabbalah. I sound like, who's the one that interviewed Sarah Palin on CBS and mispronounced everything? And
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm born in the Bible Belt. I've got a love of Christ.
Holistic healing.
Yeah, but that's not Kabbalah.
What is that?
Kabbalah is mystical. It's like
mystical.
It's like the deeper. It's all about the deeper study of why we're here, right?
Okay.
And a lot of it is in the ancient Aramaic text that is the language of Christ. So as a Christian growing up, I really wanted to understand more about what Christ did, how he lived, what the way he walked the world, not just what I learned in the Bible, but also go deeper into how he woke up in the morning. What prayers did he say? How did he eat?
Give us the bottom line.
I've studied Kabbalah for like 20 years, but I would Tiffany say, Mom, yeah, you had me go to Kabbalah on Friday night and Saturday, then church on Sundays. And because I just wanted to know God in every way. I like to connect with how people find their divine without judgment. Allow people to find their way, their I like to say it's like a cord from heaven to earth, right? It's their light that gives them the strength to move through with purpose. And we may not all agree on how we get there, but what's beautiful is studying the different ways that people do that. I've studied Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism. And for me, I come back to like I love the presence of Christ. I love how he walked the earth, and I learned so much from that. But I also want to, I want to be able to find the pathways that other people do and bring that light into it. So.
This is from Bustle. I don't know if it's a magazine or an article, but you said, how do I pronounce it?
You speaking German now to me?
Kabbalah. Kabbalah.
Yeah, that's good.
Kabbalah helped me learn to take responsibility for my own choices and no longer be the victim. How did that help you?
Well, that was a big thing because I started studying right after Donald and President Trump and
I said Donald. I've never heard anybody refer to him as Donald.
Well, I've known him since I was 20 years old.
You're the only one. Donald.
Well, we're grandparents together.
Understood.
I have the
you
right
were married to him, so.
I met him when I was 20. It's been in my life forever.
20 years old.
Yeah.
40 years ago, 41 years ago.
Don't count.
I'm a big into numbers, not for the same. Go ahead. So how did it help you learn to take responsibility for your choices?
Well, because when you look at life and you understand that
I think we have a tweet too, if you could pull that up.
Everything that comes to you is coming to you for a chance, an opportunity to grow, and it's easy to look at different situations and say, "Oh my God, they said this and it hurt me," and it's like it's true. I still look at these covers of the magazine and I get mad at Vanity Fair.
You still get mad?
Yeah. Well, do I get mad? It's more like, it's very embarrassing for one, like that photo.
Well,
Bye-bye. The other one's nicer.
Vanity, this is a nice photo.
With this, I did not want to do this cover.
Why not?
But there was because I'd already done a Vanity Fair piece and I watched what they were capable of doing. And my baby was just like a week and a half old, so I wanted to protect Tiffany.
And there's Tiffany on the front cover of Vanity Fair.
Yeah, but you see, I wouldn't let her face be shown.
No, it's a good thing.
Your
it's
mom,
a beautiful photo.
It's beautiful. The photos are beautiful.
It's hard to be angry at this one. This one,
no, that brings
this
good
one's
memories.
a little more. I could see.
That one,
yeah, we don't want to see that
like
one.
That. But this is real. This is a real.
It's a nice photo.
That's a beautiful, real moment, and there's a lot of joy in that. But I also knew by going in that magazine, there would be consequences.
Yeah, there always are.
Yeah.
An equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly.
I was thinking about that recently. When I met Trump in Trump Tower in 2013, him and I are both on the front cover of Playboy. He has his picture on the front. Mine is just says the dirty tricks. It's framed in my office. Dirty tricks of James O'Keefe. And we were talking about how we were both on the front cover of Playboy. I swear to you, that was one of the first conversations I had with Mr.
And I chose
President
not
Trump.
to be.
You chose not to be. What a weird, interesting triangle.
I just don't think it's great energy.
We all have this in common. Yeah. I was not posing nude. They painted a portrait of me as James O'Keefe, pretentious like George Washington. It's framed. I'm staring at it. It's in my office.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the video here. Oh, there it is. You can see it.
I was happier with the one in George magazine dressed as Abe Lincoln. I did the Abe Lincoln look for George.
Abe Lincoln. So
I'd rather do that
why don't
than
we
do Playboy with no
juxtapose
clothes.
you as Abe Lincoln and me in Playboy as George Washington, looking pretentious.
Mm-hmm.
They have so. Vanity Fair, Playboy, it's some of the same writers. They write about you. They sneer. They condescend.
And they make you feel like they're your friends, and they get you, and they understand you. And I think that's what's so painful is when you open up your heart and you think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to share my heart, and then you realize that, oh God, no, they could care less.
No, there's a quote by Janet Malcolm from a book called "The Journalist and the Murderer," and Malcolm writes that every journalist is a confidence man, and they think like they're your friend, and they're out to tell your story. They're not interested. They're interested in telling their story. So they prey on people's vanity and your weaknesses, specifically vanity. This is literally called Vanity Fair.
Exactly.
So the quote by Malcolm is they prey on people's loneliness and vanity in order to tell, and at the end, you, the subject, are thinking, well, that's not fair. I was, and you have to understand that the reporter's job, I mean, ideally it's to get to the truth. Yeah. So in my business, I literally play the role of a confidence man. I try to get people to trust me in talking about the undercover work, and then they realize they've been had. Mm-hmm.
But it's their dirty secrets that brought them there. And honestly, it's their choice to realize that nothing can be hidden forever. And what you do, especially in this day and time, is like the bills are up. So
I think it's so interesting between 1991 and 1994. Like, I'm looking at Vanity Fair from 94 and like, it looks like 2020. Like, it's funny to see the world.
How it repeats itself.
It's funny to see the world just change. I mean, do you think that life was better in the 80s and 90s, or do you think life is better now?
I think as we grow and we go through these experiences, life gets better because we learn how to deal with it. Yeah, as we learn how to deal with it. I mean, we could dance around and think everything was fine back then. It really wasn't fine. But now we're in a world where so much has become uncovered, right?
Yeah, we get better as we get older, but the world gets worse. It's a thing.
Well, I think this is what do they say, the age of Aquarius, and now it is Aquarius. And it's a time that everything that was hidden is being seen. And that's what we're being faced with so much in humanity. And I think it's our chance to really create a better world for ourselves.
Let's talk about musical theater. This is something you and I have in common.
Yes.
And I have a lot to say about this. You were in Broadway's The Will Rogers Follies, right? What was your role?
I was Ziegfeld's favorite. Lots of roles in that one musical.
And what for those who are not familiar with The Will Rogers Follies, what is that? The leading role? What role is that?
It was one of the leads. Yeah, one of the leads. I worked with Keith Carradine and Katie Huffman won the Tonys just before I came in. They won 7 Tonys in this musical, and I came in as a replacement to Katie Huffman.
And that was
not easy when someone's won the Tony to go in and replace them. Wow, James, was our life easier then, or was it harder? What do you think?
what is it, easier or
We were
harder?
doing musical theater.
I have a lot to say, but
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about my experience. But first, I want to play a clip of you in the musical.
As Marla skipped, pranced, flipped,
still do those,
and split her
You can
way
still do that?
through the role of Florence Ziegfeld's favorite showgirl.
Keeps me young. Wow! Show! Oh my God. That was
Wow.
the first night. That was the.
Look how young
and
you are.
that is when my stalker had just been found. So I was in put-ins for the Broadway show and having to go downtown to testify and go before the grand jury at the same time. A little stress on the voice.
So so tell me about musical theater, because I do this and I get a lot of shit for it, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
I think it's awesome.
But tell me about, like, talk to me. People don't understand. They're like, that's gay, or that's. I'm serious. I'm 100%. Like, I don't understand it. Why are you dancing around and singing? Like, can you just tell me about why you do it?
How important is it? I mean, for me as your friend, when I watch you make the music and sing, I'm like, thank God you have that.
Well,
How would you go back into the world otherwise?
Is it joy? Is it
It's release,
for you?
isn't it?
Is it for you? I'll talk about me, but for you, is it a release of nervous energy? Is it?
I need to do it more. I have been so focused on healing humanity that I have not been dancing as much and definitely not singing as much. And when I look at that, there was also a lot of pressure because all eyes were on. And my father was a singer. He had a band. He was a choir director in church. He did opera, did theater under the stars. So people were always curious, would I do the same thing? And I think as a people pleaser, it just fell into my lap to do this work.
When you go on stage, do you forget the audience is there?
It's tough in theater, because with this show, you could kind of get the feedback. You get the reverb,
Do you
right?
see them, or is the lights blinding you?
There's a moment when I came up under stage and I can hear the whispers in the audience before I come up with my little cowpoke and my branding iron, and I can hear the conversations. And so you're very aware of the audience, but then the lights are very bright. But we kind of broke through that fourth wall in this show.
Well, people have this like conception, I think, and it might be projection. Did you ever get like criticized for being in musicals?
I got criticized for maybe not being as good as I might have wanted to be. They're picking on the voice. They're always trying to find something.
Or they're like
critique.
It's that thing where they're like you're full of yourself to think that you can be in a musical. Get back to doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like get back to your wellness work, Marla.
I think it's different for a girl, and especially at that age, and that was the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So it was a different time and a different space than maybe
You
what it would be
returned
now.
back to it.
Well, I judged myself because I was an actor since I was 16. I think I got in the Screen Actors Guild at 18. And I just always felt that I had more to do than be an actor. And I quit acting for a while because I said, this feels like I'm not giving enough or doing enough. Then I realized the bigger your presence is, the more of a voice you have. So if you can use whatever it is you're doing and you can use it to be able to share what you believe in or have positive impact, then it's great.
Yeah, I also feel like when I was in musical theater, and let's go to mine now. Let's go to Oklahoma. I was the leading role in Oklahoma's Curly the Cowboy. But when I was doing this, it felt it was probably the happiest and most joyful experience. In a way, I've had a lot of different joy. It was a very specific type of joy. I had a job. You know what? The one thing that struck me about it, like here, I'm in charge. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
I'm the leader. I'm literally responsible. The buck stops at me. In that production, I was not the boss.
Yeah. Sometimes that's easier,
In a way, it's interesting you say that. In a way, and if we could go to the clip Oklahoma, in a way, what is it? By the way, it was pouring rain outside. That's me.
I love this. Dancing.
Okay, so
Great.
the first thing you just keep it on. That's a nice uplifting.
Yes.
For me, it was like I wasn't the boss, and the director, a really talented guy named Brian, one time someone forgot their lines and I'm the leading role. So I was like, here's your line. He's like, don't do that. Focus on what you're doing, which is totally different. That was the weirdest thing. I'm like, I haven't not been in charge since I was 21.
Yeah.
And he was right. And that was different. And the other thing about it was I probably was the most physically in shape in my life. Everyone lost 10 pounds because we're outdoors. It's 90 degrees in Virginia. We're riding a horse. It's a whole thing. I learned a lot about human electrolytes because the water would run right through you. So you'd have to drink 2 liters of water and then 1 liter of electrolytes to keep hydrated. Right. And it was just physically, but I also believe that I couldn't do it full time because, like you say, it wasn't real. Yeah. There wasn't at the end. I mean, it's art, but it's not reality. But
what you're doing, you're giving people something to escape from the reality.
True.
So that's what's really good about it. And also, because I was in the same position, it's good to get a paycheck.
It's small paychecks.
But at that point in time, as an actor, I worked so hard before I got the big break, right?
Yeah.
And so you do so much. You're putting so much money and time into auditioning, and when you finally get one, that's pretty satisfying.
I actually paid I reimbursed Project Artist $20,000 just for the 19 days. That's another story. But the value of my time became such. Veritas was at that point a $20 million company. So I was out of the office for 19 days in rehearsal. We rehearsed this whole musical in 19 days.
That's beautiful.
From 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And the problem was the economic opportunity cost of me not physically being in the office. People felt entitled and angry. The truth is, it was a necessary sabbatical for me, if you will. Right. And I think it's important for people like us to do stuff like this.
So beautiful. See, that's the human experience. That's doing all of it. Because I think this as a sabbatical, like you said, you can come back so much more focused and strong.
I did.
But harder for you because I was just starting my career. I knew I wanted to do more. I knew I wanted to be, helping people in a different way. But the opportunity was there, and I grabbed it. So
I remember there was one moment when I was doing wardrobe changes and it was mid-August summer, the moon's out and I'm dressed like a cowboy changing into the little bow tie and I'm sweating and I'm cut and I'm singing and there's just it's just the different little slice of heaven, I think, but it was like exercising one muscle.
Right.
Whereas what I do here, it's like a full body workout.
Oh, true.
I do right here, it's like a full experience, whereas in that, it's like a little muscle.
There's risk of not remembering your lines, but there's not the same risk of your life.
How many performances did you do for yours?
8 shows a week, yeah.
So this is what happened with me in Oklahoma. After about 15 shows, everyone on the cast would know if you deviated even in the inflection of your voice. That's how indelible the script or the performances are. If I changed the way that I said the tone of a word, they would all go, "Oh, you tried something different today."
But that's what's good. I mean, especially I had friends. Well, my ex-husband and my mom would come to so many shows. So every now and then it's fun when something's a little off. And there was a moment when the lights were on me bright, and I went blank. And I think I was with. Was it Mac Davis or Larry Gatlin? Because both of them, I worked with both of them. And I remember that I was like, and they start talking around it and they bring me back. Because if you stay in the character, I'm like, oh yeah, we're having that conversation, you come right back to it.
Was that after a number of shows? Was that one of the first ones?
That was.
So you went blank?
Just went blank for a moment. Something happened with the lights on and just the audience. Something happened.
Just something happened.
Just a quick moment, but I watched how he brought me back. I think it was Matt. He brought me back
the character.
To it.
Well, usually, was it a musical moment or just a dialogue moment?
It was just dialogue.
Yeah, dialogue. I mean, I think that's happened, but the character next to you brings you back. You're reacting to what they're doing, so they trigger something, and people are fascinated by how we can memorize 80 pages of dialogue.
Listen, I went up there on the stage for my first put-ins, and like I said, I was going through this situation with a person who had stolen from me. It was a very emotional, hard time, and I had some of my difficult lines written on my hand, and the director said, you got this. I said, why do you think I've got it? Because I know that you've got it. I'm like, I don't have it. I have no idea what I'm going to say. And guess what? They were right. I had it. I had it, but that moment of fear, do I really have it or not?
When live musical theater, the audience doesn't know if you mess up. You just keep going, and it's all confidence and stoicism.
But when you're dancing with it, like 50 other dancers, one gets out of
the hardest
step,
part
and
for
all
me
out of
was
step.
the songs on Oklahoma. There's a couple that are very hard. There's one called Surrey with the Fringe on top. And I'm telling you, I had to listen to these songs probably 250 times. And I sitting here right now, the lyrics to one of these, Surrey with the Fringe on top, I'm singing, I'm putting together a stagecoach so my heart is beating so fast and I have to sing. And it was like, the wind will whistle with the rattle on top, the cows will moo in the clover. The wind will ripple a whistling song and sing it over and over. I'm not even doing it right.
But that's so much innocence, isn't it?
It was World War II, and all these guys are seeing death and horror, and they're coming back to and watching this innocent, this view of humanity. But I think we have a couple articles that were written about this musical stuff too. And look at this.
Look at
James O'Keefe does Oklahoma, and oh boy, it is not okay.
It is not okay. Wow.
It is not okay.
Well, look at the name of this thing, the Wonka.
He decided he should sing and dance like a lot. It sounds like Trump. Like a lot. He decided that he would sing a lot, okay? He even released an unbelievable cringy video. Let's go to the next headline. Okay. Project Dramitas. James O'Keefe's latest act, musical theater for canceled artists. Oh. It's so outside the...
Was he...
that's me and Julie was the leading role for my counter.
I think what was hard for you is you were already famous for doing something else.
Right.
That was the difference.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that was hard for you.
People don't like that when you
go off what their expectation is.
I actually think isn't that some of the greatest power?
Would you do it again? Yeah.
I said... It's kind of funny. My board told me to do this, and then they used it against me. And then they said, every 2 years, you should take a month and do a production.
Well, they were busy doing other things, probably.
But I think a lot of the great power comes from people not changing the lanes or getting out of the lane and doing something, right?
Yeah,
Which you've done a lot of things.
Yes, and look at our president. Hasn't he?
He's done a lot too with The Apprentice and
the real estate and everything, casinos.
Now he's the president.
Right.
That's a lot of different things.
Keeping his peace.
And he dances too. Oh. He brought dancing back.
He brought dancing back.
See, this is
Trumpy Trump.
Trumpy Trump.
Trumpy Trump.
This
Deepak.
is 2000. Deepak, our friend Deepak. This is 2021. And at the time, I did feel like the conservative movement was more against music and dancing. And I
was hoping they would have supported you, the conservative movement.
I think half of the comments were supportive and half were stay in your lane. I really don't think they understood it.
It is your lane.
What's that?
It's your lane. You were driving the way you're meant to drive.
I would always tell people that if I was not built this way, that this place would not exist.
Yeah.
But people don't seem to understand, and this is not a criticism. They have a different purpose or a different mission, but they're not that inclined that way.
There again, it's you listening to what you're meant to do and not hearing those voices.
But those voices are strong.
Yeah, but they're strong. But you know what? Your mission is stronger. So you have to stay locked in on that.
You got to stay focused on what your mission is.
But you got to know and do what's going to help you be stronger in that mission. And I think life is about experiencing all of it, right? If you're not going to have some joy and some dance and some song, then what's the purpose? Right?
I feel like there isn't a lot of joy in politics. Joyless. It's a joy. DC. Have you spent time in DC?
Yeah, a bit.
It's a joyless place.
Yeah, but it's, they say it's coming alive now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
I hear it from people. I hear that there's...
That's true. There are some good people in D.C. right now.
There's some good people in D.C. And my daughter was just there and spent hours with the little baby with her dad in the Oval Office. And
were you in the Oval Office?
No, I was not. But I was with Mickey Willis and those characters in Austin. But my daughter was the first trip that my little grandson went on.
In the Oval Office.
Yeah, I went just to meet Granddad.
I saw President Trump was on an airplane or something. He said, I'm coming back to Florida to see my newborn grandchild.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had to stay in D.C., so the grandchild had to go see Granddaddy. Yeah.
Well, musical theater. Yeah, I have to say that's one of the great memories of my life.
I just can't imagine doing it again now. Like for me, because I do still talk to a lot of folks in the Broadway world, and would you come and do this? I could not give 8 shows because I feel that the other things I'm doing are so much more relevant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 8 shows a week is a tough
You know, it's interesting you say that. When I was a teenage boy, I used to play video games, and even I used to like movies. It is hard now to suspend disbelief. I think it's called in drama, which is the idea of you're suspending your disbelief. You're caught in this fictional dramatic thing. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
I can't even. I have to read nonfiction now. I can't.
Right.
Because what you're doing is your mission of your organization is to save humanity.
Yeah, we just want to get it right.
Mission.
We've got 4 years for sure, and hopefully more.
Hopefully
to do all that we can do, and hopefully.
Who are your biggest adversaries right now, if you wouldn't mind saying, against your mission?
The ones that are making money on hurting people. That's.
Can you mention any organizations?
No, I don't want to mention any organizations. I don't want. It's just they know who they are, but we're going to be stronger. And we've got an intention that's stronger, and we're going to bring people together that are going to be stronger than all that. And hopefully they wake up. I mean, that's what I pray every day, that they wake up. It just takes, the eye of the needle, right? That someone could have an opening and go, I don't want to do this harm to others anymore. How do I win by hurting others?
Well, I go back to this Johnson & Johnson story that we're putting out. And there's this moment in the when I confront him, and I say, you said your product isn't safe. Mm-hmm. And he had to confront his own consciousness. He had to look in the mirror. And it's very tough for people. None of these guys go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. My mistake. You don't ever see that.
Some of the scientists that we've seen have said that when they were working on it. They've come around. There's been a few whistleblowers. Some of them aren't with us anymore, but there have been,
and it's tough. Whistleblowing is tough too.
Yeah, because you're risking your life at every moment. But if your conscience is too great, and you're seeing what's happening to our children and our youth, and folks, getting these turbo cancers,
your conscience
and heart
is
attacks,
clear,
and your conscience is clear. You got a chance. Everybody has a chance.
It comes at a significant price.
It does.
Legal costs and
but
lost
everybody
income.
out there, no matter what you've done, you've got a chance to start all over again.
You do, no matter where you are. It's a very uplifting.
Got to be brave enough and be willing to surrender to it to do it.
I think acknowledging that it's challenging, but also focusing on what is the best. What is your pitch for those in these industries and organizations that are profiting? What would you say to those people that are thinking about telling the truth but are scared or concerned about the retaliation?
Well, there's you just want to say we're here to support you if you do it. They've got to feel there's a safe place. Probably they need to create a community that has their back, not some that are vying to take them down if they do it. You just got to open up to bring people in that'll help support you growing or you telling the truth. And there are many of us here that would love to embrace any of those people that have been a part of working against humanity with these, from what they're putting in our food, what they're putting in the vaccinations, what they're putting in the air. There's always a chance to turn your life around. And I think we're a big, warm group of folks willing to bring them in and give people a chance again. Gosh, should I say this? I was doing a bit of an event pre-election, a fundraising event, and I saw that Usher was performing across the street, and I used to know Usher, but he was performing for Kamala for a birthday.
Kamala or Kamala? I don't know. I'm probably butchering this.
So anyway, and I was like, oh my gosh, I like Usher. Why is he there? And I was with the log cabin group, a Republican conservative group speaking, and along with Cash Patel, some really cool people. And I sent him a text. I said, just so you know, you can come across the street and join us at any time. We'll welcome you with open arms and love. And that's what I think the difference is in this movement, is being able to welcome people in, no matter what their choices have been. Bring them in.
Big tent. But with the big tent often comes infighting and factions.
Well, here we are. There's the challenge now, isn't it?
That is the factions are the challenge in America. I mean, since the Federalist Papers, but
Yeah.
I don't know how we get over that one. I guess what unites us is stronger than what divides us. The truth should unite. There's only one truth. There's only one reality.
Well, but everyone sees it differently, don't
Everyone sees it differently.
What angle are you looking at?
That's
Einstein?
That's right. Let's talk about just one more thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is that, one of the things when I did some research here, and tell me if I have this incorrect, but there were book offers that you turned down.
Oh, God, yes.
And what was it? All That Glitters Is Not Gold. Was that a tentative title?
That was the working title. Yeah, I had already brought in like $75,000 up front. I'd already paid agents percentages, and they wanted me to speak negatively.
Who's
about
they?
The publishers.
Publishers.
The publisher. Yeah, the
like
publisher.
New York City book publishers.
Well, that was, who knows? Maybe it's changed now. That was the 90s, but I had to deal with HarperCollins. And they always wanted more corruption in the story. They wanted me to tell more dark stories about
You don't seem like someone
about
who's...
President Trump, my ex-husband. It's like I wrote this meaningful book, really. We had probably 6 chapters and full outline, and it was really about the heart of all that glitters isn't gold. There's more to life than money and wealth and fame. It was very powerful. I loved
And they wanted you to go dark.
Doing. They wanted more negative stuff on Donald, on his first wife, and I still love my stepchildren. We may not still be married, but I still love the kids, and there was no way I could do that would bring more harm to the family. And so I turned down that. I lost a lot of money on that, turned down that deal, had to give all the money back. And I tried a few more times. And again, I went with the wrong publishers. And I had agents that wanted to go where the most money was. And in the end, going where the most money is not always going to put you with the right people. And then during Donald's first 4 years, I was offered $10 million plus to write a book. And,
10 million.
Yeah, but we don't want you to speak negative. We just want you to tell the true stories, right? Listen, $10 million could have gone a long way in the things that I believe in and people I want to help, but it wasn't worth compromising anyone.
That's a lot of money.
It's not about money. In the end, it's not about money. All that glitters isn't gold, right? You've got to keep your heart and your relationships, and you want to know you're lifting people up, not bringing them down. There's enough people that are trying to bring people down.
That seems to be a common theme with you. You seem to focus on the light, the optimism, the joy.
It's really the way I was born, to be honest with you. It's not like a learned thing. I just was able to step out of, I was able to see my own darkness and work past it and accept it, and also was able to understand the importance of not judging other people, because the things that you judge will most definitely come back at you.
Who taught you that?
That was really a combination of my studies. Probably I've had a very, very spiritual father and mother, and
your
also
parents taught you?
My parents were very, very good at teaching, but I also had to know more and went out to seek more. So friendships that were so important in helping reflect what was really going on in my life and around.
A good upbringing.
When I would get lost.
A good father.
And good friends. Good father. My father passed away a year ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, just a year ago. And he and we still have this bond.
What did he think about you going through all this stuff?
It was really hard. He was the one that told me, honey, you got to come home from Guatemala. And I think Diane Sawyer's who you need to sit down with.
Your father?
My
Diane,
father.
how did your father know you wanted to sit down with Diane Sawyer?
Every single journalist in the world was coming after anybody that knew me.
Your father knew Diane Sawyer?
Well, they would find him. It's not that he knew her.
Your father was able to...
No, they were all... They never let my family go.
But I mean, your father was... your father
had discernment.
Could intuit.
My father had discernment.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
That's the word we
So he took one look at Diane Sawyer and said, sit down with her.
Well, he listened to a lot of them, and he talked to her, and he says... First of all, I did not want to come home. I wanted to stay in Guatemala. I was happy to stay there for months, for a year. And he says, baby, I hate to tell you, but you need to come home. This is not going away. You need to come back and face it. And from everyone I've talked to, I think Diane's heart is in the right place.
I heard you say that. I was trying to find that one, and I will find it, the when you did with her. But you were offered all this money and to write a tell-all book about your ex-husband, Donald Trump.
While he was president, by the way, too.
I'm sure you've been offered, and it's kind of unusual for someone not to take that deal. And that's a lot of money. And I don't know if they offered $100 million, I doubt you'd take it by now.
No, it's not. And listen, $10 million was like $100 million to me then, right?
Yeah.
Even the Playboy thing.
That's a lot of, back in 1999, that's whatever that is. I don't know how much money that is.
Yeah. Well, the Playboy stuff was in the 90s, but this was more recently.
Yeah, the first term.
Yeah, first term. But it's, how much do you need to create a happy life? How much money do you really need? I mean, yes, you and I are doing things that require to have a wonderful staff.
I just want enough money to pay the lawyers.
I want you to not need lawyers anymore.
Frankly, $10 million ain't enough.
Enough of having all these lawyers.
Well, it's almost like the more money you have, they just spend it all. So it's a tough deal. But you have the right people in-house. If you're watching this and you want to work for me as a lawyer, you know who to call. The problem is then we get 1,000 resumes and have to vet all of them.
You need somebody to vet it, right?
Your father gave you this gift or your father had the gift of discernment. But I'm going to read this one quote from you. I felt like taking money for the story. This is passing up on the $1 million offers to write a tell-all about Donald Trump, who you were married to. I feel like taking money for the story, which really has to do with other people's problems, is not what I wanted to do. I have to keep a bit of dignity. And if I were to make money off of this, I don't think I would be able to face myself.
Wow. Pretty good quote.
You say that?
When did I say that?
You said it to Washington Post Howard Kurtz, April 20th, 1990.
1990, yeah. Yeah.
You face yourself.
Well, you've got to do what gives you peace at the end of the day, right? And how is speaking anything, even giving intimate stories of a marriage that could have effect on someone else.
The public doesn't really have a right to know, I guess. It's a tough line. I ethically, I don't do stories about what happens in people's bedrooms. I don't find it's important I wouldn't publish anything like that. I've been offered to publish that stuff. I don't publish it.
And I think my ex-husband has a lot of respect for me now. I mean, he does understand how to make money, and I probably is like, why hasn't she made money? But he has a lot of respect and trust. I'm like one of the people he knows he can trust because I've been solid all these years. I get along great with his wife, love all the kids, and to me, those relationships are more important than anything. And it's a risk even, to do magazine articles because you never know where they're going to take it. But at some point, you got to be able to risk it. Do
you just say when people try going there with you, what's your mechanism to de-escalate? You say no comment? Do you say, I'm sorry, I don't want to talk about that? How do you handle that in social situations?
Well, first of all, I still have that thing where I don't want to hurt people's feelings, right? And it's just like when you don't remember someone's name, and I think you got to look in their eye.
Yeah.
In this situation, I just have publicist friends that'll just say no for me. For the most part,
but if people just ask you, but if someone just asks you directly, and maybe not a publicist, but someone else.
Well, like I have people come to me wanting to do meme coins, and I'm like, don't people lose money when you do meme coins? And there was millions of dollars sitting in the bank waiting for me, and I went, God, am I a nut for not? I can do good things with this money, but there's always people, depending on how it's done.
Haktua didn't fare too well with that.
No, and I've just been on a learning curve to understand this stuff.
Haktua.
Haktua.
That's the
I've heard of Haktua. Now I don't know.
That's one way the world has changed since 1990.
Yeah. So it's just people can make the choices for whatever is right at the moment. But for me, I just have to have that discernment, and maybe you change your mind at some point.
I think that loyalty is a very underrated value. And in these days, betrayal, and I've been betrayed with the best of them. We've all been betrayed.
We've gone through a lot. And it may happen more.
More may happen.
And it's really hard for me letting people in. Especially to date, or you've got to know what is their real motivation, right?
But discernment, it grows inside of us, and we learn.
That's what I pray for every day.
That's what I pray for. Yeah. That's the number one thing I pray for.
You have to, and know you're going to be at the right place, the right time, and you've got the right team around you.
Well, for me, initially, it was having an open door policy. Because you're Habitat for Humanity, but the problem is. Just by communicating and meeting with people who have dark or bad motives, it's spiritually dark and it could consume you. So you have to be careful. I have to be careful who I even communicate with.
And I have another girlfriend who's a filmmaker, and she says, we've got to be willing to bring the light into the dark places, right?
That's the other side of that.
Yeah.
That's
and not letting it wave over you, because you have got to put your protection around you, because the darkness can be very powerful.
Yeah, armor of God and a good team around you will hopefully solve that situation.
Yes.
Well, I guess I just have one more broad question for you.
Let's see if I dare answer it.
I just like to ask this. Someone asked me this question recently, and it's such a question. I don't even know.
Don't even know you like it. Do you like that question?
Usually I'd ask at the beginning, but I'm asking you at the end.
Okay.
It's sort of like what do the French eat salads after the meal? That's what this is. Who is Marla Maples?
Marla Maples? Oh boy. It's an ever deepening description of who she is. It's ever evolving, ever changing, ever growing.
By the way, how can people support your foundation?
Oh my goodness.
And your
we
nonprofit?
would love your support. MarlaMaples.com. I have the Marla Maples Foundation there, what we're doing, and Global Wellness Forum. I have all that I believe in when it comes to healing is there.
Okay. Thank you for joining me today.
What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale.